I made a video recently and alluded to the topic that I'm going to discuss today. And this is what I'm going to label courageous leadership. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because, we often talk about the fact that leadership set the tone. They socialize many of the ideas and what the norms are. But more often than not, and you hear it, and I've heard it myself and I've experienced it myself, which is leadership says one thing, day-to-day life is very different. So leadership says, hey, we're all here. We support Black people, we support women, we support mothers, we support LGBTQ plus community, we support everybody, and that's great. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't see it. So then maybe, you have a conversation here, you have a conversation there, and, the output is always the same. It's kind of getting stuck. There's a bottleneck with middle management. Okay. So it's just not flowing down like it should. But I throw the gauntlet down here to leadership and say this. I have never believed, and still don't believe, that middle management is anonymous. And, even if the person who is at the very, very top doesn't necessarily have contact with middle management, for example, it doesn't mean that their seniors have no contact with them. Because I was recently on a podcast and I was talking about this concept of every time you describe a situation, whether, even if you anonymize it, even if you say it's an example, most of the time, it's a story that's based in reality. Even when you're thinking about, you're like, because some kind of people are like this. And you're saying some kind of people to be generous and to be broad, but the reality is that you're talking about a very, very specific person. You've got her name, you've got his name, first name, surname, know where he works. It's not an anonymous person at all. You know who it is, but you're keeping it anonymous to keep things fair, to not kind of put all their business out on the street. But here's the thing. It works exactly the same in middle management. When you say there's a bottleneck, or wherever the bottleneck might be, it doesn't even have to be middle management, wherever the bottleneck might be, you know who the person is. You know already the person who's going to be rolling their eyes when there's going to be another conversation about women that are like, oh, women stuff again, oh, Black people again. You know who the person's going to be. It doesn't take you very long to have figured it out. You can tell by the behavior. You already know this. So the question isn't about talking about the bottleneck. The question is, what will you do about it? Is the profit that they generate potentially, because a lot of the time these people tend to be in profit generating positions, is it that the profit they generate is worth keeping them at the expense of making real progress? Because you might be paying them, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands, millions, whatever, but long term, if that one person's going to be the stopgap to your progress, is it really worth it? Because when you think about it, you're paying them one particular thing, but that can have a larger effect. Because if this person manages to stop progress, A, it shows that your commitment isn't really there. B, it shows that anything you've said isn't authentic. And D, when it comes to time for a public reckoning, there's no one to hide behind, because the choice to keep that person within the company, or, I'll say this, there might be people who are willing to learn. There might be people who aren't willing to learn. But the point is, you have to take them on the journey to say, well, here are your two options. And it has to be something that is a part of the company's overall process. So, you might not be able to take full responsibility for everybody, but that's the reason why there are managerial layers, because each layer takes care of the layer, either you can say above it, below it, whichever direction you want to work from. And that's what they're there for. So how then can you build accountability into it? Well, it's about asking, finding out, has there been progress? Do you have processes? Do you have strategies? Do you have checklists, checkpoints, and all these sorts of things? A progress chart. And if you know who the person is, maybe you have to adapt that progress chart a little bit, because it's not that everybody starts at the same place. The point is, are they moving with enough speed? Are they moving at all in the right direction to say that they are on board with the changes in the direction the company is going to take? But suppose they're not on board. This is courageous leadership. Being a leader isn't just for leading people through the good times, it's also leading people through the bad times and, as it were, to the new world. So this is, for me, the part where somebody has to make a decision. And the decision can't be, I don't know who it is, there's a bottleneck in this group somewhere over there that I don't really know about. You know who it is. And part of being courageous is standing up and admitting to yourself that you know who it is, but also figuring out what that strategy is. Because without that, there won't be cohesive movement. And it's not that I'm saying fire everybody tomorrow if like 50% of your company isn't on board. That's not what I'm saying. But it's steering the ship and making it clear through word and deed that not participating, not fighting for gender equality and racial equity in the company it's not negotiable. It's non-negotiable. You have to, this is part of our journey. This is going to be part of how we do business. This is a part of who we may not have been, but this is a part of who we want to be and how we're going to get there. And everybody needs to be on board for that. So yeah, that's my note really on courageous leadership. And it's not, and once again, I'm not trying to say that this is easy, because it's the furthest thing away from being easy, but it's still necessary. It's still necessary. And back to the other point, it's always remembering that the fight for gender equality and racial equity is based in lived experience. It is not just, it's not just something to talk about. It's what many of us live every single day, whether you're a woman, whether you're a black woman, whether you're a woman of color. This is what we live every day. So respecting that and understanding that should hopefully give you the courage to really take the anonymous part out of it and really deal with the bottlenecks in a positive, and sometimes it will be difficult, but a positive way, but that a way that's looking at your long-term success, long-term gain, even if in the short term it's uncomfortable. So thank you very much and have a good day. Bye.